North Korea and South Korea, two countries, one border, and decades of tension so thick you could cut it with a bayonet. One side is all about numbers and nukes. The other, high-tech precision and international backing. So, who actually wins if it all goes down? Let's break it down. Fact number 1, nuclear weapons, North Korea's biggest card on the table. Nukes. Estimates say they've got about 50 to 60 nuclear warheads. South Korea, 0. But, and it's a big but, South Korea has the US nuclear umbrella. Translation: if the North fires one nuke, the US steps in with thousands. It's like bringing a knife to a fight, but your best friend shows up with a tank. Still, nukes aren't the only game in town. Let's talk manpower. Say, madam. Fact number 2, troop numbers. North Korea fields about 1.1 million active soldiers and another 600,000 in reserves. That's huge for a country their size. South Korea? Around 500,000 active and 3 million trained reserves thanks to mandatory service. Basically, North Korea has the edge in active boots, but South Korea's reserves are massive and better trained. Fact number 3, military spending. Money talks, and South Korea's military budget is a staggering $50 billion a year. North Korea? Somewhere around $6 billion. Yeah, South Korea spends more on defense in a month than North Korea does in a year. That's like comparing an iPhone 15 to a Nokia brick phone. One's outdated but won't die, the other is high-tech and lethal. Fact number 4, air power. South Korea's air force is packed with cutting-edge jets, F-35 stealth fighters, F-15Ks, drones, precision-guided missiles. North Korea? Mostly Cold War relics, MiG-21s and MiG-29s from the 70s and 80s. In a dogfight, South Korea would control the skies in days. For North Korea, just getting planes off the ground would be a victory. Because once you lose the skies, guess what happens next? Fact number 5, artillery. This is where North Korea is terrifying. They have over 10,000 artillery pieces pointed straight at Seoul. In minutes, they could flatten parts of the city, and Seoul is home to 25 million people. South Korea has counter-battery systems, but the opening hours of war. Brutal. And that's the nightmare scenario. Destruction before anyone can even react. Fact number 6, Navy. All right, let's hit the seas. South Korea's Navy is modern, sleek, and seriously powerful. We're talking advanced destroyers like the Sejong the Great class, which are basically floating fortresses loaded with Aegis missile defense systems. They've got modern submarines that can sneak through the depths and launch precision strikes, and a navy that trains constantly with the US and Japan, meaning they don't just sail, they sail smart. Now compare that to North Korea. Their navy? Mostly small patrol boats, outdated corvettes, and old-school diesel submarines, many of which are noisy enough to be heard halfway across the ocean. Sure, they've got numbers, hundreds of vessels, but when most of your fleet looks like Cold War leftovers, numbers don't win battles. If this fight ever moved offshore, South Korea would dominate. Their ships can strike far, defend against incoming missiles, and control the seas with air cover from the South Korean Air Force. North Korea's Navy, on the other hand, would be limited to quick hit-and-run harassment and submarine ambushes. Translation: in a naval showdown, the South is a modern shark, and the North is splashing around like a goldfish. Fact number 7, missiles in Nampi. Tech. North Korea keeps developing long-range missiles like the Hwasong-18, claiming they can hit the US mainland. But reliability? Questionable. South Korea. They've got precision strike missiles, missile defense systems like THAAD, and joint drills with the US military. One side's trying to prove it can hit the target. The other can already do it with pinpoint accuracy. Fact number 8. Allies and AMP support. This might be the biggest factor of all. South Korea has the backing of the United States, Japan, NATO allies, and advanced tech industries. North Korea? Mostly isolation, with limited help from China or Russia. In a long war, South Korea's supply lines stay open. North Korea runs out of fuel, food, and parts fast. So who wins? In a short, brutal conflict, North Korea could unleash devastation, especially on Seoul. But in a sustained war, South Korea's high-tech military, massive economy, and US backing guarantee victory. The North's strength is shock and fear. The South's strength, precision and power. In other words, North Korea might start the fire, but South Korea has the firepower to put it out permanently. If you found this breakdown intense, hit that like button harder than a fighter jet breaking the sound barrier, subscribe for more global power comparisons, and let me know in the comments, which showdown should we cover next?